The Pacific was a map of blue emptiness when Amelia Earhart lifted her Lockheed Electra into the early July sky of 1937. The metal bird shimmered under the sun, its engines beating with the confidence of a woman who had already crossed oceans, broken altitude records, and rewritten the limits of what was possible for a single human being. She smiled at Fred Noonan, who was adjusting charts, his fingers trembling slightly from exhaustion. They had been flying for 30 days. 30 days of sleepless landings, cracked radios, nearly empty tanks, and thousands of miles over waters that could swallow a plane whole without leaving a ripple. Yet Amelia's voice remained steady. It always was. She carried storms inside her heart, but she never let them spill into her voice. Howland Island was supposed to appear like a thin brown scratch across the horizon, a tiny dot of hope in a world of water. Their window for sunrise was precise to precise. They needed daylight, a clean radio signal, a tailwind. They had none of it. Clouds gathered like tall, silent walls. The Pacific, at dawn, was no friend to pilots. It hid everything under a silver glare that blinded the eyes. Amelia adjusted her throttle. She was tired, so tired she felt her eyelids burning. Noonan wiped sweat from his forehead and quietly whispered to himself. As he recalculated their fuel consumption, they both knew the truth. One wrong turn meant death. One missing signal meant drifting into nothing. They tried to reach the Coast Guard cutter Itasco. Amelia pressed the transmitter again and again. "We must be on you but cannot see you," she said, her voice thin, trembling but disciplined. Noonan leaned closer, listening. The radio spat static. They could hear the world trying to reach them, but everything was fractured. Amelia looked out the window and saw only an endless mirror of light reflecting the clouds. It felt like flying inside a dream, one that became heavier with every passing minute. Noonan tried to spot shadows, any sign of land, but the ocean played tricks. Every wave looked like a shoreline. Every cloud looked like a mountain. Their fuel was slipping away like sand through fingers. Amelia gripped the yoke tightly. She felt the plane respond, felt its heartbeat growing weaker. She tried again. "We are running on line 157,337, a message, half lost to the static that ate the world. The words faded. The silence that followed was unbearable. The clouds finally broke, revealing long corridors of sky, but still no island. They flew low, desperate, scouting for something that shouldn't be so hard to find. Amelia had always been brave, but now she felt something foreign creeping into her chest, fear. Quiet but sharp. Noonan tapped the window, pointing at what looked like a shadow in the distance, a dark smudge on the horizon. Amelia shifted course, hoping fate had not already made its choice. But as they neared, the shape dissolved into nothing more than a cloud's reflection in the sea. The Electra coughed, the engines sputtering. They were at the end. Amelia felt time slow as she looked at Fred. His face was calm, almost peaceful. They had flown around the world, only to be abandoned by a speck of land no larger than a runway. She leveled the plane, keeping it steady despite the shaking frame. The ocean rose toward them like a dark sheet. She took a long breath, tasting metal and fear. When the impact came, it was not violent. It was strangely soft, as though the Pacific swallowed the plane whole to keep its secret. Water rushed in, cold, merciless. Amelia unstrapped herself and helped Fred force the hatch open. They surfaced into blinding light. The Electra sank beneath them, sliding into the deep like a dying whale. They clung to a half-inflated life raft, breathing hard, coughing salt water, their bodies trembling from shock. Hours passed. The sun burned their skin. The sky above was painfully empty. Amelia looked at the horizon and saw a faint silhouette of land, impossibly far, but real. A broken ring of coral rising from the sea. Noonan saw it too. They said nothing. They simply began to paddle. By nightfall they reached the reef. The moonlight shimmered over cracked coral and ghostly trees. The island was silent, untouched, as though the world had forgotten it existed. They collapsed onto the shore. Amelia lay on her back, staring at the stars, listening to the waves licking the beach. She was alive, but the weight of isolation pressed on her chest like a stone. The world didn't know they had landed. No one knew where to search. They were invisible. Days blended together. They found crabs, coconuts, rainwater caught in leaves. Their bodies grew weaker. The sun punished them, the night froze them. Yet Amelia refused to break. Every morning she stood facing the sea as if challenging the horizon to admit defeat. She tried to repair the radio they saved from the wreckage, adjusting wires with trembling fingers, sending weak signals into the void. For a moment, they thought someone responded, a crackle, a faint echo, maybe a voice, maybe nothing at all. Fred believed rescue would come. Amelia pretended to believe too. Then came the storm. Winds tore at the palms. The sky split open, releasing rain like shattered glass. Their shelter collapsed under the fury of the night. Noonan was injured, struck by a falling branch. Amelia dragged him deeper inland, her strength burning out like the last drop of fuel in an empty tank. They huddled in darkness, clinging to survival with the same stubborn hope that had carried them across continents. Noonan never woke up the next morning. Amelia sat beside him for hours, her throat raw from crying, her fingers curled around his cold hand. The island seemed to mourn with her. Even the waves were quiet, as if the ocean, too, grieved for a man forgotten by history. After burying him beneath a cluster of palms, Amelia walked the shoreline, her footsteps slow and fragile. She was alone. The Pacific stretched endlessly before her, shimmering under the ruthless sun. She whispered to the wind, asking it to carry her story home. Maybe someone would hear it, maybe not. But she had always lived for the sky, and the sky had taken everything from her. Her final days were marked by silence. Exhaustion hollowed her body. Hunger carved her spirit. She wrote messages on scraps of paper, tucking them inside a rusted tin from the emergency kit, hiding it high in the branches of a tree where the sea could not claim it. Messages of hope, of regret, of gratitude. Letters to a world she would never see again. Her footprints remained on the sand long after she disappeared from the beach. Whether she walked into the sea or simply closed her eyes beneath the shade of the palms, no one knows. The island kept its promise. It hid her well. Years passed. Planes searched the Pacific. RADIO operators reported strange transmissions. Bones were found, then lost, then debated by scholars. The world created theories, conspiracies, legends. But the ocean that swallowed her plane held the truth deep in its silent heart. Amelia Earhart did not vanish into thin air. She lived, fought, and endured until the last breath. She became more than a pilot. She became a symbol of courage, of ambition, of the relentless will to chase the horizon even when it runs from you. And somewhere, on an unnamed shore forgotten by maps, the wind still whispers her name.